The goal of today's video is to kind of give you an introduction to TinkerCAD, to just some basic skills. We're talking very surface level, just as you're getting started. I often tell my students in my STEAM classroom that it usually takes students, my middle school students, about 2 to 3 days to kind of surpass my ability in TinkerCAD, and it wouldn't surprise me if you were able to do the same thing. But this video is just purely meant to give you the tools just to get started using the TinkerCAD website. So to get started, you're going to go into a web browser. I'm using Google Chrome right here, and open up a new tab and then type tinkercad.com. When you go to tinkercad.com, now something that my students often do on accident is they type in TinkerCAD with the T. It is TinkerCAD. The spelling is right here where you can see my mouse going back and forth. And once you create an account, I might make, check for another video on account creation and going through things like that. Your teacher should be able to help you actually make sure that you get your account created. If you're wanting to create a new design, you can click on your sort of avatar over in the right corner and then click on the new design button and then 3D design. All right, so if you have a 3D printer, one thing that I tell my students to envision is that when you're looking at the work plane, imagine that this is a plate of a 3D printer so that any design that you're putting onto the plate could be printed out onto a plate of a 3D printer. And TinkerCAD makes the basics very simple. And so just going over some of the key basics, I'm going to reduce my window right here. You see some TinkerCAD downloads in the bottom left corner. All right, so right here, if you kind of notice this cube right here, this is what gives you the ability to change your view, which is really critical whenever you're doing a 3D design. If you're needing to look under or make sure that you have the dimensions how you want them, it's very important to be able to move your perspective on the 3D design at any time. Now, if you have a mouse, which I highly recommend using a mouse when you're using TinkerCAD, you're able to adjust that view differently. Without needing to work with the cube. But if you're wanting to keep it simple, the cube is right here and is easily adjustable. And so if you notice, if you look at the right side of your screen, you have access to basic shapes that you can put onto your plate, onto your 3D print plate, or your work plane. And if you click at any time, you can get access to a lot more shapes. We're going to keep it simple in this Design the Shapes library. What's great about TinkerCAD is that these shapes are shapes that you are able to work with. Like sometimes you might be working on 3D designs or find a 3D design online that's copyrighted or you don't have the rights to edit. What's awesome about the majority of these shapes that you are able to use them and put them on the work plane, and most of them you're able to edit as well. There are some where the spacing is locked or the sizing is locked, so you're not able to manipulate the sizes. But today we will keep it simple, and with each of these shapes you should be able to move them around as you need to for your design. So I'm going to go back to basic shapes, and I'm going to click on this sort of red cube right here. So I click on this red cube, and right away you'll notice that the outline of the cube is following my mouse. And so I'm going to click on just kind of the center here. And right away, you have a list of options that go along with this box right here, where you're able to adjust the length, the width, and the height, however you need to. Now, let's pretend like you accidentally make too many adjustments, and you're like, "Oh no, I didn't mean to do that." Learning Control-Z is really one of your best friends. It saved me in many of my college papers. But you also have this undo back button right here that you can click as well. And then click it until your shape is restored. Now, another thing you'll notice is that you'll have options, like a solid option right here. You can click on that and change the color how you want to. Now, if you are planning to actually 3D print your designs, sometimes this color might be limited to whatever filament is in the 3D printer, but multicolored prints, multicolored filament printers are becoming more popular and more common, or printers that have the capability to have multicolored filaments in one print are becoming more common, but sometimes your color is going to be limited to whatever filament you have access to in your 3D printer. So, clicking on the box here on the work plane, I'll change it. You know what? I'll change it to this just sort of orange color right here. So when you see this, there's a few things to keep in mind. If you're needing to rotate it in any way, you'll notice that you have these arrows right here that allow you to click and rotate your cube, and will let you click and rotate any shape that you have that you're working on in TinkerCAD. And remember, if it gets slightly off balance, you can always do Control Z for edit undo. Now, you'll notice this arrow at the top. This lets you grab and move your shapes up and down. Now, remember, you do usually want to make sure that that you have parts of your design that are resting on the work plane, so that some 3D printers don't try to print in mid-air. That can be a problem, and with some 3D printers, that can lead to things like clogging or just an incredible waste of filament if none of your 3D print is touching the ground, or none of your 3D design is touching the ground. And so if you're wanting to make adjustments, you see these little boxes right here that lets you click, and it will let you manipulate the size of the cube or the shapes that you have out here. So I can manipulate it however I want to. And it's really easy to create like a rectangle, or to create to manipulate the shape until it suits exactly what I'm needing. So right here, I'm going to click on this sphere right here and put this sphere down here too. So one thing that's really cool about TinkerCAD is it's so simplistic in how it lets you adjust three-dimensional objects and make them two-dimensional, which is awesome. And this can be handy because it's really easy then to 3D print things such as necklaces, such as pendants. It makes it incredibly simple to get started and make designs that you can automatically 3D print, which is just so awesome. Now, let's pretend like I am wanting to create a gap so that I can put like a necklace through it or something along those lines. This whole shape right here, you have a cylinder right here that you can click on that will let you create a hole in your design. And so if you click using the hole feature, now you'll notice when you click on the hole feature, you can always change it back into solid if you want to. But if you're creating like a necklace, this can be very, very handy. So we'll use that. Click on the hole feature. You'll want to drag the hole through your actual design so it actually creates a hole in the design that you're wanting to create. And if it gets to a point where you're like, that's exactly it, that's exactly what I'm looking for, that'll make an awesome necklace, you can click Control A, which will select all of your objects, and then go up here to this toolbar right here and click Group. And there you go, voila. You got a design that could easily be a necklace, and absolutely, of course that necklace is really ornate and a really beautiful design. As you can see, a simple sphere that just has a hole through it. What's cool though is that TinkerCAD, this might be a starting place, but TinkerCAD does let you go much more in depth with your designs really, really quickly. So another option, if you have multiple objects, like I've had students who have like 27 different objects and you need to just select two, you can always click on one, hold the shift button on your keyboard, and after holding the shift button, click on the second object that you're wanting to select. This will allow you to select like 2 out of your 27 objects, or however many objects that you have on your work plane. Once those 2 are selected, it's the same process where you can click the group button. You'll also see Control G if you're wanting to do, to keep this all contained or learn all the keyboard shortcuts. You can click Control G as well. You click on that, and then boom, that works as well. All right, so one of the last sort of basic objects I kind of want to show you is the Scribble feature. Scribble feature lets you create your own designs, and this is where if you have a draw pad, like you can find pretty fantastic draw pads for about $20 to $30 that has a stylus. This will let you create your own drawings onto TinkerCAD's work plane that you could 3D print literally half an hour later. Like I've had students, I've worked with the social studies teachers in my building, and students have designed like their own 3D printed hieroglyphs as well as their own 3D printed artifacts. It took them like 30 minutes to draw using a draw pad. If you don't have a draw pad, I definitely recommend a mouse just because that will let you get a little more specific and distinctive with your designs. But how this works is if you click on the Scribble button, it will go to your work plane. You can hover over your work plane, click on the work plane right here, and then just start drawing. So I don't have a mouse on me right now, but just to show you how simplistic it is, I'll put an A, because hopefully that's what we all get on our assignments, right? Got an A right here. And then click Done. And boom, it's a three-dimensional object that you can easily turn into whatever color you want to and place wherever you want to as well. And I highly recommend, if you do have a stylus or that ability, you can also use TinkerCAD on tablets as well that might have a stylus as well. It'll allow you to start getting to work right away on designs that you can easily 3D print.